You can imagine taking a marketer and you put a camera or you put a microphone under their chin and you say, what does your brand represent? And we might hear the words green or sustainability or something. We'll go, okay, strategic axiology.
Right.
But then we'll go and watch him create a marketing plan, and we'll see him drawing things up. And if we just look at what he's doing, we'll be able to infer what he believes about what he's really chasing. It might be an industry award. It might be a promotion. It might be, a bigger expense account.
Welcome to What Gets Measured, a NinjaCat podcast about marketing, performance management, metrics, and effectiveness. Because what gets measured gets managed. I'm your host, Jake Sanders. Joining us today from Sydney, Australia is James Ward, founder and CEO of Epistemology, a company on a mission to help people build better futures through smarter resource management and strategic reasoning powered by artificial intelligence. James is a seasoned AI researcher, strategist, and technologist. His background includes roles at McKinsey, launching multiple tech startups and academic work in generative AI. His approach blends rigorous epistemology, deep systems thinking, and a strong ethical stance on how AI should be developed and deployed. James has developed the 5 rings method to evaluate AI tools with a forward-looking lens, specializes in causal AI, and he's here today to talk about it all. James, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks very much, Jacob. What a great intro.
Hey, we're just want to know who you are and what it all means. Before we were recording, we summarized the bio as that, and I think it's good. But your work at epistemology.com.au, it's not just the word, it's a website. I wanted to talk about that 5 rings method. As a way to evaluate AI systems. Can you walk us through the idea, and then can you connect it to a way that it might apply specifically to agencies and marketing?
Sure, no problem. So most of us are walking around trying to achieve goals, sell products, create profit, help customers. And what we're usually not so aware of is the method we use to reason about what to do. So if we talk about an intelligence methodology, then we're talking about getting formal, getting specific, getting clarity on the actual steps we use to arrive at decisions about what's worth doing and what's not worth doing. And so it's really 101. It's ground zero for every kind of success. So what 5 rings is, it is a set of 5 steps that tells you in a very precise way exactly what to do. So it's like a recipe for success. And all you need to do is follow the recipe. Now, the thing about this recipe is it's built from concepts that aren't usually embedded in the way people reason. And so that's why most people's efforts to create change, to create successful businesses and so on, aren't always successful because they're not working with the right set of concepts. And so embedded in the 5 rings are the effective set of concepts that allow you to follow the recipe to create success.
Yes. Well, then take us ring by ring, my man.
Yeah, that's it, right? So, and I think we want to focus specifically on people creating agencies. And when you say agency, that's a generic term, but I think in your context, you mean ad agencies. Is that what you mean?
Advertising, marketing, yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about really what that's all about. That's about creating sales. Is that oversimplifying?
Some would argue with you right now, but I won't. No, that's absolutely it. At the end of the day, you sell or else.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's in that context, let's step through what 5 rings would say. So the central concept is that when we act in the world, we can use fancy words for that. We can call it teleology or strategy. Taking actions in the world because we want to create outcomes. We're dealing with cause and effect. So this is the first concept. It's a very obvious concept. It should be second nature. People think they reason causally all the time until you kind of press them on the details of their thinking. And an example of this would be if we're in marketing and we want to create sales, my first question for you would be, or any agency owner would be, what creates a sale?
Or you don't want me to answer right now.
Well, no, I mean, what I imagine is that if I put someone on the spot with that question, and I would never be so unkind, because the answer is extraordinarily complex to that question. That is not a simple question, and it involves hundreds, thousands, if not trillions of different variables. To even know if a sale is possible, if there's the guy got the cash, is there demand, did we reach him, have we got messaging, does he understand us, what about the competition? There's so many variables involved that answering the question of what creates sales is actually a very challenging thing. And nevertheless, that's our assignment. If we are working in marketing, if we're in advertising, we have to understand what creates a sale. And so we've immediately got this challenge of dealing with complexity and uncertainty. But I don't think it's often appreciated to be that nature of problem. When we shine a torch on it, we see, yeah, that's exactly what this is. It's a problem in uncertainty management and complexity management. And so if you ask 10 marketers what creates a sale, you'd get 11 different answers. And so what we know we're dealing with immediately is a problem of there's even uncertainty about cause. So the first ring will say, all right, what is it that we value? In this context, we value sales. So this is the first ring. We've got a fancy name for it. We call it Axiology. Axiology is the fancy word for the study of what we value. And so in this case, we value sales. So the next fancy word is ontology. Ontology is a synonym for knowledge, but I don't like the word knowledge because it implies certainty. I prefer the word belief. So everything that you believe is knowledge in your mind is actually only a belief. And we probably are wrong about 99% of what we believe. But we don't know that. We don't live as if that's true. We live with this false certainty. So when we get a group of your peers in a room and we ask them what creates a sale, we'll get quite a rich tapestry of ontology. And then our question immediately becomes, well, everybody's saying a different thing. Who's right? And one of the ways we can tell who's right is we can ask each of them to make specific predictions about what would happen if they were right. And then we can say, well, did you ever try that? And were you right? What was your open rate on those? What was your close rate? And we're in the decimal points to measure success. And I'm saying, well, if your beliefs about cause and effect were true, then we would be expecting a 100% success rate at whatever we tried. Now, marketing is not at all characterized by those kinds of success rates. It's very much driven by a spray and pray philosophy, which is exposed by looking at how often particular communication reach outs don't create a sale. Because every attempt to create a sale that fails is wasted energy. It's wasted money, it's wasted time, it's wasted frustration. And so look at how much is wasted. It's like 99% of the effort the ad industry is wasted.
Wow.
So this is a golden opportunity to kind of ratchet up. And the potential for a performance improvement in this field is just mind-blowing.
And I think that's what pushes people towards that certainty, pushes people towards that confidence, because they're saying there's a lot of waste. A lot of that waste was not measured appropriately. Like maybe it was measured as waste, but you didn't measure it on a longer or a different time frame. I mean, is that sort of like your axiology is the study of what you value, so that drives the creation of the dashboards or the reports or the metrics or whatever. But then that is coming from an ontology. I mean, like, How do people check themselves before they wreck themselves, James?
Well said. And so what they do is they can simply look at their past performance. I mean, this is cruel. This is cruel to make anybody, including myself, to look at the energy we've spent and the results we've gotten. It's not always a pretty picture, but that's the place to begin. So with an acceptance of what's so, and to approach those results with the frame of mind of it doesn't have to be this way. So a lot of what happens in any industry is that failure rates can simply be normalized, excused, accepted. And this, of course, is toxic for progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the state of mind you need. So getting back to stepping through our ring structure. So the next thing we do is we look at the evidence of our past success and failures and their connection with our actions. And we see that the beliefs we hold about what will create the success we want don't stand up in 99% of cases. And so now we've got a fork in the road. One is we can accept that that's the failure rate we'll live with. Or the other is we say, I must challenge my beliefs. I must accept they're not true. And this, my friend, is the road less traveled.
I know that poem. I know what you're talking about.
That's it. So we say, any belief that I'm holding that doesn't manifest and show itself to be true in action must be discarded and replaced with something better. And so looking at that evidence, that's called semiology. Semiology is the study of signs and symbols, the way we interpret them. And in this case, we're interpreting it through the lens of falsification. It's like, I believe that this headline would make that guy open his email. He didn't. So I have to revisit what I believe about what causes people to open emails.
Mm.
So this is an exercise in falsification. So semiology is very useful to collect falsifying information. And now we're ready to go to the fourth ring. And the fourth ring, this is epistemology.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we say, all right, we've got to get creative. We've got to come up with new beliefs that fit the evidence. To fit the evidence we're seeing, we have to discard the old ontology and come up with a creative set of new ontologies that we've never seen before, which explain the data causally, which fit with that. And so most of the time, it's very difficult to have the emotional composition to sit with a difficult exercise like that, because it can be very hard on the ego to discard what has been learned over years and years of patient training or years and years of being immersed in industry law. Often people's egos get identified with that, and it can be an emotional experience to discard it in favor of something new. But that's what's necessary in the step of epistemology. One of the ways to think about ontology is it is synonymous with the ego. The beliefs we hold, the things we think are true, the things we think about ourselves. That is effectively what ego is. An ego will fight to protect itself, because if it's falsified, if it's discarded, well, that's the ego's demise. And so what epistemology is, it's the destroyer of ego. That's what epistemology is. And so it's a creative process that replaces an old ego with a new ego structure, but which is more functional.
Because it's connected to things that were held up to scrutiny, and we had to figure out what was going on. Oh my God, I love this. Okay, keep going. We're at the fourth ring. There's a fifth one, I heard.
There's a fifth one. And so we could also, there's a lot of synonyms for these rings. And so for the step of epistemology, another more approachable synonym for it might simply be learning. And so we want to do a lot of learning. And only once we've done that learning are we ready for the final step, the fifth and final step, which is that we base our strategies about what to do on the new learning. And so we once believed in one set of causes and effects, and we built brand strategies and sales campaigns and so on around that. But now, because we've done the steps of being clear about our ontology, we've done our falsification, we've collected our semiology, we've done our learning, now we've got a new belief structure. And so now the new strategy we write, which takes that as base ground truth, is going to perform better than the former strategy that was built on the old discarded ontology.
So, I mean, right now, everybody's like, hooray, gosh, James, you helped us. Why can't we do this? I mean, I like, it's like, that's very clear in the way that you helped explain. There's the stuff that you value. There's the stuff that you believe. There's the stuff that you need to address it and correct it against. You need to have some third-party verification. You have to find out falsification. Then you have to change the way you approach it. And then you can start building, why don't people do this? Why? What is the big problem here? It sounds so good. What's up? People don't want to. I mean, you just said it's painful, but I'm thinking like marketers fighting against C-suites, C-suites fighting against banks, the financial, hierarchy, the blame game, the scapegoating. I mean, like you said, it's a multivariate problem. What's going on? Why don't people do this?
So there's a myriad of reasons. Let's step through some of them. The first one is, in many contexts, people don't feel it's necessary. If you're an electricity provider, no one could be without that. That's easy to sell. Or if you're selling car insurance, which there's a legislative requirement to buy it, so you get big buyers are getting a lot of repeat business. There are industries where it's just not seen as necessary. And another industry is just anywhere there's outstanding success, there's sufficient success, so good enough will just trundle along with good enough progress. In the industries where we don't have those kinds of tailwinds helping our sales along, then we have the opposite problem. We've got a lot of failure, but now there's no budget to pour into marketing. There's not an appetite for change. There is a demand for very rapid success and less appetite for innovation and learning, which is seen as a distraction. So you've got the problem of success and then under-resourcing. If you don't have success, they're the first two things. The next thing is that a lot of us come to work and we don't get to make all the decisions. We wish we did. We tell our friends and spouses and so on how things would run better if we were in that position, but most of the times we're not. And so what we find is that we are trapped inside the epistemology of the company or industry we work in. And so much as we want to conduct this learning process, we're constrained. So one of the exercises that epistemology does is that we can map the epistemology of an organization, of an ad agency. So very often the guy who creates the process for building creative, who to hire, what kind of themes to write, whether to use AI graphics or hand-drawn illustration, or whether to shoot live video, these kinds of decisions are made by a guy who isn't even in the room. So can't be reasoned with. Now, there are just organizational impediments to learning. So one of the first things we have to fix is the epistemology of the organization before the individuals within an agency can actually be effective. Yeah, very often these ideas are well understood by the people working in the agencies who are seeing underperformance and would like superior performance, but the organizational rules and processes constrain them.
So, and I was just thinking about this helplessness, because I've felt it before. I have felt it. You're like, I know something's wrong. I'm in my lane or whatever. I'm a part of a much bigger team, but people know something's wrong, but they just can't find a way to elevate. And then also, you come to realize that it's wrong. It's not going to be fixed. Why would I even care? Why would I even go through all of this? But what I'm thinking of is we're missing a tick, because you can do all these things for free. You said under resources. Well, I think it's free to do all this in your brain. But I was thinking, well, you can do all this, but then you're still stuck in that place. So it actually doesn't serve you. I mean, do you think maybe one of the reasons why people don't do this is because they're disempowered to a point where it's like, why would I even waste my time with this? I know it's great. I love it. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, they absolutely can feel like that. But let's assume that none of these, the roadblocks I've said so far, let's imagine they don't all exist. So first of all, there's an appetite for better performance.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the funding, we've got the resourcing to do some learning. There's no organizational constraints telling me we have to do it the way we've always done it. And I'm now the guy in the hot seat whose job it is to spend the money we have to do the learning that's required to achieve better success. We'll assume that this is true. So now we have a new problem, which is that the human mind is unable to grapple with the complexity of the problem. So when we ask what creates a sale, well, we'd say, well, a sale to who? Okay, well, hopefully we'll have a lot of customers, thousands, hundreds of thousands of customers. Do you know all their names? Where do they live? Do they sleep right now? How are we going to reach them with an ad? That is a huge problem, to know all of those things. It's not the kind of thing that someone can carry around in their mind.
Nor should they. I think the only person who can do that is Santa Claus. Okay.
Right, you got it. He can. All right, but the rest of us are struggling unless we've got adequate systems. And so here we have the next challenge is, do we have an AI system that represents everyone who lives in the world? And so a lot of people think they do if they've got a database of customers.
Right.
It's like, no, that's the people you're already selling to. What about the people you don't even know about, which is like 99% of humanity? Where are they in your database? Oh, you don't know about them. Well, so you're going to keep, remarketing to your very tiny beachhead in this.
We're just going to send another ad to this person and say, I think after 14 ads, we'll convert them.
Yeah. That's it. And so there might be some niches, like maybe we're very used to doing Facebook ads. It's the only place we've got data. It's the only place we feel any kind of familiarity with that context. And so we don't know at all about all the 1,000 other ways and the 1,000 other groups of people we could be marketing our stuff to. We've got no history there. So we've got no way of reasoning about people we can't see. They have to make an appearance in our mind, as a concept, before we can even begin to reason about what they might want, how much money they've got to spend on that, and what sort of reasoning persuades them. And so think about what we'd really like in terms of a system. What we'd like is a system that represents everybody in the world, their wealth distributions, how much money they've got to spend, and what they want to spend it on. And from that, now we're ready to reason about the group of people that would make the best fit for our product.
So most people think it's weird because they do believe in the total addressable market. Like they do believe it, but they're not seeing it. They're only looking at the people who are hand raising or the very fervent supporters. Is this where causal AI comes in? I mean, that's one of the other things that you're working on. I mean, it's moving beyond just a predictive model. I would assume that the predictive model has a lot of that intent data from people that were probably going to buy from you already, maybe. So who are these new opportunities? Causal AI, is that going to get us there? Like, go off about causal AI, or if you wanted to just talk to me about it.
All right, I'll tell you about causal AI. So we did some reasoning earlier, and we basically said cause and effect is everything. If you reason well about cause and effect, if you had perfect knowledge of cause and effect, then every action that you took to create a sale would create a sale. Now, we know that that's not the world we're living in, and so we know what the problem is. The problem is you're not reasoning about causality correctly. And so what's the solution? The solution is to start reasoning about causality correctly. It seems obvious, but that's not a conclusion that most people are ready to arrive at. There's some, and the ones doing it, they're kicking all kinds of goals. But that's really the primary message to the audience, is to understand what you really should be studying. You should be studying causal science if you want to be a better marketer or a better agency owner, because there is a mathematics of causality which makes this a computable problem. And so that's what causal science is. It's the mathematization of these concepts so that we can, first of all, know that we're reasoning clearly about it ourselves, but more than that, we can instruct AI systems to reason this way for us at scale. And this is the
this math has happened. This math is out there. Causality.
Yeah.
Why haven't we done this before? Why does it take James coming from the other side of the world to tell us this?
So people like ease, and so and they also like familiarity. So what is easier than speaking in your own natural voice to an AI system that reflects back to you everything you've ever read in a magazine? And what I'm describing here, of course, is generative AI. Now, generative AI feels good. It's like the junk food of AI. It's very easy to use, and it tells us exactly what we already believe. It doesn't challenge us. It doesn't demand innovation. There's no discipline required. And it's the preference for comfort that means that large language models and generative AI get all the spend, if you ask your audience and you said, where are you spending money? Tell me about your AI strategy. You know what you're going to hear? Gen AI, Gen AI, Gen AI. It's going to be their big decisions are like, which Gen AI model do I use? Is it Grok, Anthropic, Claude, ChatGPT? Which model's best? That's the conversation. This is the wrong conversation. The right conversation is, are we looking at causal science? Are we using causally aware AI? Because that's the only thing that matters.
But so then talk to me about this. Causal AI is different because it's built on the reasoning and your causation, correlation. Let's just go back to first base for a minute. I love the game and I want to run all the bases, but I need to go back to the first one. Causation, correlation. I was talking to somebody, he said, not 1 in 10,000 marketers understands the difference in between causation and correlation. Was that a slap on the wrist, or is he right?
Oh, he's absolutely right. I mean, this is, I think it's...
Oh, you know what? I knew you were going to say that. Boom. So cause and effect. No, I'm just kidding. James, keep talking.
No, I hear you. Isn't it easy when you know, right? When you know, you know. So that's the first thing we're taught in statistics class, is that correlation doesn't equal causation.
I hear it all the time.
And the problem is that after the teacher has given that initial lesson, then they rub that off the board and then pretend it's not true for the rest of the semester. Because what is statistics if not examining correlations? That's what statistics is. It's the wrong tool for the job. And the assumption built into any correlative thinking is that if it happened before, it's going to happen again. That's the thinking. Now, that, of course, isn't true, epistemically speaking. We don't sell too many horse and buggy whips, not as many as we used to. The fact that you sold one guy a house doesn't mean you can sell him a house next year. The fact that YouTube was the best way to reach a certain wealth demographic, because that was true once, doesn't mean it's true again.
Right.
The correlations keep changing. What we're interested in is what doesn't change. And what doesn't change is the causal laws. That's the definition of a causal law. It's something that's true everywhere and for all time. which is a very high bar. It demands a lot of discipline to find the laws which are always true everywhere and all time. Now, the nice thing about a quality like that is that we can see the properties of causality today. They're here now. We can show them. Or we can look in our past experience and we'll see them at work there. We understand how to mine that data correctly, not through the lens of correlation, but through the lens of causation. And then once we've found causal laws, we can be fully confident that they'll also operate in the future, because that's the definition of a causal law.
Well, so, okay, word, love it. I'm on board. Can I get into some causal AI? I mean, can I GPT my way? No, you can't. You can't LLM your way here. Like you just told us that there's this awesome road that we should drive our cars on, but no one knows how to get there. No. How do you get with the causal AI?
Well, essentially, the first way we onboard clients to get them onto causal AI is we give them the 5 rings training. That's number one. So we've done 5 minutes on it. We can do 5 days on this and really get people to understand this at a much deeper level. I'll give you an example. We talked about axiology. Axiology is what we want. And so that sounds pretty clear. And we could ask somebody, what is it you want? But whatever answer they give us, we call that their strategic axiology. It means this is the answer they give us because it benefits them, or they believe it benefits them in some way, to hear what they've just told us. But this is different from it being true. And so you'll see this on every company website. What you're reading there, it's like, we aim to be the greenest, most socially aware. So this is strategic axiology. You think they're really making their decisions this way? Often not. And how would we know? Well, we study their behavior and we ask ourselves, if we were to infer the axiology of this group of people by only looking at their behavior, what would we deduce that they're motivated by? Now, this we call functional axiology. It's very different to strategic axiology. And so we've got 11 different kinds of axiology, and we tease them all apart. What we need to do, we've also got ontological axiology. This means what you believe you're chasing, even though you're not.
Ooh.
You can imagine taking a marketer and you put a camera or you put a microphone under their chin and you say, what does your brand represent? And we might hear the words green or sustainability or something. And we'll go, okay, strategic axiology.
Right.
But then we'll go and watch him create a marketing plan, and we'll see him drawing things up. And if we just look at what he's doing, we'll be able to infer what he believes about what he's really chasing. It might be an industry award. It might be a promotion. It might be, a bigger expense account.
I mean, nobody's going to admit these things. It's so funny that you're talking about business strategy, but you are going to hit some hard marrow. Like you're going to get right to the bone if you're not careful. I mean, do people cry in this training? Because I'd imagine there's a lot of tears.
It can get very sensitive. You have to approach it gently.
Yeah, it's for real though. Yeah, no, I'm laughing, but I'm also thinking, wow, this is such an amazing opportunity to really have those conversations and really think, do you believe what you value? Is that based on what you think? And if there's a really expensive person in the room, watch us all change the way we think, the minute, John Coltrane walks in, I'm like, I'm jazz all day. I do nothing but jazz, Do I? No, I'm watching Netflix every once in a while.
Yeah, that's it. It's once you get the truth X-ray machine out, yeah.
So you're blasting us with the radiation of truth, but it's also coming through hopeful through the X-rays. As I'm looking at it, it looks good. I think, we don't need too intense surgery. You might need to do some self-reflection. What I wanted to ask you is, you have this approach to causal AI. If you're interested, go talk to James. You gave us an approach about the 5 rings, which is beautiful. But now, here we go. You just gave us some truth bombs. Now, if there's an agency out there, they're looking to get AI rolling. They want to implement it. How are they able to separate what's real, what's hype? What's your advice for these people if they're assessing a new platform, or just like what you said, we want to get on this model or that model? What are the red flags or green flags, or what's your advice to people as they're vetting AI tech solutions?
So the central question should be, how does this AI system handle causality? Because why do we even engage with this AI system? It's because we want to create strategy. What is strategy? Well, strategy relies on cause and effect. We'll take these actions, we'll send out these communications, we'll build this creative, we'll send it to these people, and it's going to have these effects. This is causal reasoning. So the most fundamental question you can ask about any AI system is, how does it handle causal reasoning? And if the answer is it doesn't, because it's generative AI, because it's a large language model, then next.
Well, wait, hold on. That's a lot of people you just dismissed from the room. Is there, it's straight up LLM, Gen AI, it cannot do causality. No matter how much you train it, or you prompt it, or you tease it, or you deep research it. Are you telling me, James? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah. So let me be clear about what large language models are doing. They're essentially being trained on massive piles of past written text. Now, in all of the training data that they've been trained on, you'll see sentences that draw relationships that are causal. That's there buried in the text. What the large language model will do is it will repeat those. And it will do that in very polished grammar. It'll even throw in some humor and be formatted in a very nice way. And this looks very convincing to somebody who's reading everything they've already read in journals and magazine articles. It's recycling folk wisdom. But there's no understanding in that. And the problem is that folk wisdom is getting you a 0.5% close rate. And so it's clearly not true. To improve on it, we've got to put aside the old wisdom that large language models are force feeding us every day, even though it feels very comfortable to read it and bathe in it, immerse in it. And even though it can feel tremendously productive to spew all this stuff out, and there's all this certainty and rightness and familiarity and comfort, and everyone's getting medals and awards. And that feels great.
I just felt somebody pat my back. And I was, thank you. Oh my gosh, we're eating quiche. Oh, wow.
So that's the junk food of AI. You've got to put down the junk food of AI in order to pick up the nutritious AI.
Which is?
And what that means is, so working with a system that is fundamentally built from the ground up on the concept of causation. And so there is an artificial intelligence that's built that way. It's called SKY. And so SKY, it's an acronym. It stands for Scientific Knowledge Through Artificial Intelligence. That's what it is. And so it's scientific. What does that mean? Well, it's built on hypotheses that have been tested in the crucible of evidence. Using the concept of falsification to say, well, any hypothesis that doesn't match the evidence has to be discarded. So when we're reasoning scientifically, we're only dealing in hypotheses which haven't been falsified. And we're doing that at scale. So imagine the hypotheses that go together in describing and answering this apparently simple question, what causes a sale? We need to know about the economy and supply chains and resources and ingredients lists and part lists and quarterly targets and all of that. And it's more detail than a human mind can appreciate, which is why they take all the shortcuts. But imagine an AI system that can represent all of that. That's what Sky is. It represents that at scale using cause and effect reasoning. And so you can query it. You can say, why this, why this, why this? And it'll tell you in terms of hypotheses which haven't been falsified.
So here's my blowback. Any of these things, you ran it through the causal AI. It is doing all of these amazing non-falsifying things. It's getting rid of evidence that hasn't been vetted, and here it goes. But at the end, isn't it still just a model of reality and not reality itself? I mean, like if you get the data really good and it's going to show you what cause and effect is, isn't there still a bridge in between the real world and these models, or is causal AI sort of bridging these things?
So a lot of AI does run on models. So you've done your AI reading and you've heard the word model and you've got the idea that every AI runs on models. That's the basis for your question. You've also heard all models are wrong, some models are useful.
I have heard that, yes.
As the defense against the idea that, well, AI does run on models, but some kinds of AI does not run on models. And Sky doesn't run on models.
Mm.
And so that can be a hard idea for somebody to wrap their mind around. And so what do I mean when I say Sky doesn't run on models? You could imagine every hypothesis that could possibly be true, or even spoken, even framed.
Mm.
That is a huge information space. And then you could say, from that virtually infinite set of possible hypotheses, we could subtract from that everything that isn't true because it's been falsified. Now, you're still left with an infinite remainder of things that might be true. And so when we articulate a set of beliefs about the world in a very precise way, precise enough to be tested against evidence, that component there, we could call that a model. Mm. But whether it is consistent with evidence or not consistent with evidence, we also still have this huge unexplored territory of things that haven't been thought, haven't been articulated, haven't been tested against evidence. Mm. Now, this we call the space of plausibility. Mm. And we essentially want to mine the space of plausibility for new ideas. Mm. So when you use the word model, it's not equivalent to the space of plausibility. Mm. So it's by introducing this infinite space where we can be infinitely creative, infinitely novel. Sky works in that zone.
James, this is so amazing. I'm thinking that change is happening. It's going to keep happening. Is there a timeless principle that you can pass on to us that can keep agencies, as they're dealing with all of these things, they're having a lot of complicated, now you've given us a way to look at our processes, the way we vet things, new visions of AI. If you're one piece of advice, things are changing all the time, do you have an evergreen pillow mint that you can leave on our
Sure, I have a few of those. This is probably the right one to drop at this moment, which is to say, you either know what to do or you don't. Now, if you know what to do it. And if you don't know what to do, then learn. If you just follow that simple formula, you'll break all your old bad habits, you'll start getting exponential results.
Man, I was expecting something so much more complicated. Thank you for making it easy. You are an amazing person. People want to connect with you online. How can they connect with you, James?
So I'm very easy to find if you can spell the word epistemology. I have a website, epistemology.com.au, or you can just reach me at james.ward@epistemology.com.au.
Cheese or chocolate?
Are you ready?
Okay, let's go.
Cheese or chocolate?
I'm a chocolate guy. I shouldn't be, but I am.
Oh, did you? Well, that's your axiology has led you down to the chocolate flavor.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you I'm a cheese guy, but no, the truth is, if you follow my behavior,
that's what I'm saying.
Easter's coming up.
The evidence I keep seeing.
No,
okay, so then this next one will be easy. Vegemite or Tim Tams?
Oh, well, you got me again. See, I'd be inconsistent if I didn't say chocolate again. So I'm Tim Tam.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm a Vegemite eater too, but
I didn't want to get into it. If people don't know, it's a whole thing down there. Anyway, yacht rock or stadium rock?
What was that first one? Yacht rock. Is that the rock they play on yachts? Is that?
I thought it was a terminology embraced worldwide. We're talking like Kenny Loggins, like that kind of softer rock.
Okay.
Or do you want it stadium rock?
No, definitely stadium rock.
I guess that was.
I know it makes me pretty ordinary. I know, but
No.
No,
I think that brings you down to the level of the people. Okay, we'll see what this next one, Gandalf or Merlin.
Oh, gee, look, I have a special relationship with Merlin because I grew up on reading the Little Golden Book, The Wizard's Jewel.
Totally.
And, you've got Walt in the library wishing he was a bird. And Merlin pops up and says, whatever you learn as well as you can. And I think that wisdom has stayed with me always. So no, definitely Merlin.
I love that. I mean, Gandalf is just smoking weed and going into mines.
It doesn't teach
it's like,
stuff.
Man, what are you doing? Merlin is teaching people.
That's right.
Okay, two more. Stack of books or one at a time?
Stack of books.
Yeah.
I'm always reading 20 books at once.
Yeah, you got to hop around. Okay, and finally, and most contentiously, deontology or utilitarianism?
Yeah, so I'll give a controversial answer here. If you understand them both properly, they're the same thing. So any other epistemologists out there who want to debate that with me, that'll be our next podcast.
Go find him. He's spoiling for a fight, James is.
What Gets Measured is a NinjaCat podcast. Please rate and review the show wherever you find your podcasts. Share this episode on social and visit us on the web at ninjacat.io.